Trustee Vettis?
Here.
Student Trustee Francis, absent.
Thank you. Okay, Chancellor, are you going to lead us in this conversation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Hoffman, members of the board, college presidents, colleagues. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. This is our Board of Trustees mid-review goals. We now have an ongoing practice of having a check-in for the board goals specifically. We are a little bit behind. We normally do it in January, but we're doing it in early February. And oh, I'm sorry. We got a little ahead. Okay.
I apologize. I
Let me
didn't
see.
have the agenda in front of me and now I see it.
Okay.
Trustee Eno, can you lead us in the flag salute, please? I'm
Sure
so sorry.
can. Please rise. Right hand over your heart. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. With that, the plan for today is to actually go through all of the board's goals. We have data to show the progress that we made in each of these respective goals. But what I'd like to offer is an opportunity after the review of each goals for the board to have dialogue, ask questions, and give guidance to the district leadership in terms of any potential revisions, changes that they would like to make. So this will be a very interactive meeting with a lot of conversation from the board in terms of the goals and any changes that we'd like to make. So with that, let's...
1 minute. Thank you, Chancellor.
Yes.
It's been a long time. I'm so sorry. I haven't chaired a public board meeting in a long time. Are there any members of the public that have signed up to address the board regarding agenda item matters?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. You've got the floor, Chancellor.
All right. Thank you again. I appreciate it, Vice President Hoffman, for keeping us on track, making sure that we get, we follow our agenda here. So with that, let me go ahead and get us started. I'm going to ask, first go to the next slide, if you don't mind, Lupe and or Crystal. So this is your board goal 1. This is the board goal you established last year. This is to oversee college efforts to increase enrollments, transfer completions, student performance, and student success. This is the goal that I have sort of taken on for the 2026 initiative that we're planning with our college presidents and the teams. So we're going to dive deeper into that. But with that, let me have the team come up. I'll ask Deputy Chancellor Lopez to start with some data to present to the board, show you the progress we made thus far, and then have a conversation with the board in terms of any observations, questions, comments, and or recommendations. So with that, let me turn it over to Deputy Chancellor Lopez.
Good morning, everyone. We have our wonderful team here at the ESC that's put together information for your review and discussion. So we'll go ahead and get started with some information from EPI. You'll see many of us coming up to the podium today to present our information. And I'll go ahead and hand it off to Millie and Morton.
Good morning, Board of Trustees and Chancellors. We wanted to start off with this slide related to Goal 1. In particular here, we're trying to highlight the district-wide enrollment trends and our monitoring of them, which is a central component of Board Goal 1. We continue to monitor enrollment very closely across the terms to help both understand recovery and growth patterns following the recent years of volatility after the COVID pandemic. For fall 2025, we saw encouraging progress with about a 9% increase in student headcount and about a 6% increase in total credit enrollment compared to the prior year. This represents a meaningful rebound and reflects coordinated district and college efforts to stabilize and grow enrollment. Looking ahead also to winter and spring 2026, preliminary estimates as of last week also continue to suggest some momentum in this area. Winter 2026 is projected to see a 10% increase in headcount and about a 9% increase in credit headcount enrollment, while spring 2026 is projected currently to increase by about 8% in headcount and 2% in credit enrollment. And of course, it's still a little bit early and we still have a little bit time before the spring semester starts. So building on the enrollment trends previously discussed, this slide highlights how enrollment growth has translated into improved efficiency and stronger student outcomes. Preliminary fall 25 data show gains across key efficiency measures, including average increases in average class size, FTEs per FTF, and weekly student contact hours per FTE, indicating more effective use of instructional resources. In addition, we've been doing ongoing monitoring of the student-centered funding formula outcomes, which also show further increases across most of the student success allocation metrics. Most notably, credit certificates awarded increased by about 64%, rising from about 3,000 in the 23-24 academic year to a little over 5,400 in 24-25. Additional improvements include a 17% increase in students completing transfer level math and English, a 5% increase in associate degrees for transfer, and of course, positive workforce outcomes, such as an 8% increase in students earning 9 or more CTE units within a year, and a 27% increase in students earning a living wage. Collectively, these results demonstrate progress towards aligning enrollment growth with instructional efficiency and student success and workforce preparation.
ABC Kudo, let me stop there. There's a lot of information here to digest. I'm going to do a recap. If you go back to the prior slide, just for the board here. So these are the takeaways for me that were quite impressive. 10% increase in headcount in the fall and 9% in credit enrollment. Spring, so far, I'm sorry, that was winter. Fall was 9% and 6% respectively, but spring's also looking very encouraging. So what I've observed over the last couple of years is that we have not had a term, whether it be spring or fall and or an intersession, where we have not gained, from the prior term. That means that we have a steady upward trend of enrollment over the last few years. If you go to the second slide there, what's really impressive about this one is the average class size. You might think 27.4 to 29 is not significant, but in this world, it is. You're almost at 30 average class size. Our goal is 32. So you may recall in the pandemic days, we went as low as 18, 19 students per average class size. We're now at 29. So that's a significant gain there. And also the wish that, and I'll let the team explain that because that's always a tricky one. But you see there, it's gone up as well, 415 to 439. Maybe you can dive a little deeper into that. And then what I'd like to do, once we're done with this, is open it up for questions, comments, and input from the board.
Sure. Wish our weekly student weekly contact hours. Generally in here, again, we've seen some increases in this, which will give you kind of the proportion of contact hours by one full-time equivalent faculty member. So with these, higher numbers are always better. And this will definitely vary depending on discipline because classes might vary by unit load according to the discipline. An average rate for a 3-unit class is about 525. So we're making some improvements in this area.
Thank you for that. And then lastly, I'll ask you about that. Starking number of 64% increase in credit certificate. I know that's been an initiative and a project under the leadership of Alva Lopez. Talk a little bit about that because that is unheard of. And I know there's a lot of internal work we've done. It's not just completions, but the kind of the stuff we were leaving on the table, if you will. And now it's been materialized into numbers and completions for us. So
yeah, a lot of this work was directly related to what we're, I guess, calling our auto awarding process. So we've been really looking to identify students who meet criteria for specific awards. And you can see the area of focus has mostly been on credit certificates, where we're seeing most of the gains. So the work is definitely underway. I think we're still kind of working on refining the process to keep making sure that students are meeting the criteria and that we're able to award as many awards as possible to our students who are earning them.
So trustees again, and I know, sorry if I'm saying the obvious, but these are certificates that were left on the table. We just reached out and to the students and said, you have all the courses for the completion. That's increased. It's increased our SCIF because that's a metric in our SCIF completions, our FTEs and our funding. So it hits 3 different elements that are important. So with that, anything else before we open it up to the board for comments or questions? What's that? Oh, there's one more.
Yeah,
Wait.
just one more.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Please tell me. I don't mind it. Go ahead. So one more slide on goal one, and then we'll open it up. And please, trustees, if you have questions in between, now this is a dialogue here. So
Hello, good morning. So for the past 2 years, the Office of Information Technology and EPI, the Educational Program and Institution Effectiveness, have been working diligently on 2 major educational initiatives that address Board Goal 1, especially increasing in enrollment, transfer, and completion. So I am proud to announce that we deployed auto certificate awarding, and we also became a teaching college with the California Community College virtual campus exchange in fall of 2025. Based on the state reports regarding auto certificate awarding, LACCD will receive approximately $2.5 million in additional SCFF, success allocation revenue, in the next funding year attributed to the increase of credit certificates. Regarding the California Virtual Campus, we open enrollment in November for the winter and spring 2026 semester. So this is new for us. In winter of 2026, we had nearly 100 students enrolled in the LACCD. And in spring of 2026, we had 250 students enroll, and that enrollment is increasing since we still have another week before the spring term begins. Another initiative that we're working on is the development of a district-wide transfer survey. This was in collaboration of the Office of Institutional Effectiveness and the transfer center directors at the 9 colleges. And this survey will be released in the month of March. Thank you.
okay, I'll give it back to our chair, or President Hernandez, for you to go ahead and facilitate.
I think let's open it up for some reactions or comments or questions from the board. Does anyone have any?
Yes, just,
Christina?
yeah, thank you so much. Great presentation and the numbers are amazing. Just for clarification, for the class size averaging from 27 to 29, can you give me a estimate of what the max for low class size and high? So like, I know science is the class size is like 20 or 15 to 20, and then there's larger class sizes. I just wanted to know the range.
So the wonderful thing about LACCD is it's negotiated at the campus level. So each of the department chairs works with their vice president to set those enrollment
Maximums.
targets and limits. So it's not standardized across the district.
Gotcha. But do we know what like the smaller class size and the largest class sizes are?
We can get some of that information for
Or
you.
just the range? I mean, if it's like 15 and 75-ish, I don't know.
So
Just
in
the-
our contract, I believe we have a cap of, I want to say close to 40 for most classes, although
Right.
that can be raised. And then in online courses, we can have large distance education classes, and those can go up over 100
Right,
students.
okay,
But most of our lab classes are probably in the high 20s, low 30s.
gotcha. Thanks. Well, and then I know we talked about an ISS, but could you also remind us of which auto certificate areas we're focusing on, right? There was currently, right, like a specific field that we were focusing on?
Yes, we're focusing on credit certificates primarily, and we're also looking at the non-credit certificates.
All of them?
Yes.
Oh, great, thanks.
Mhm.
Those are my questions, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. This is really encouraging and an excellent presentation. And you don't have to answer this question. Actually, it's not even a question for you guys to answer, but just something that we need to think about as we advocate now between now and May for the state budget. You know, we're growing, which is really very exciting. But funding for growth is going to be capped. We met with the Department of Ed. I think all of us who are sitting here, pretty much most of us that are sitting here at these tables. And we told them, you know, we were advocating for some COLA to go along with the student equity and achievement funding, because that's never had COLA. And they literally asked us the question, and Trustee Veras and I tried to give them an answer. If you had a choice between the funding going into growth, because we are growing, or a COLA attached to SEEP, if you could only have one, which one would you pick? And so I think we need to sort of start thinking about looking at the numbers, looking at how much we're going to grow. If we think we're going to really grow more than whatever that number would be with the SEEP COLA funding, because we're going to be at odds with some other districts who would rather see COLA because they're not growing at the rates that we're growing. And so I just want to put that out there. And I'm just really proud of the work that we're doing. You know, it's cyclical, obviously, but really excited to be able to talk about growth. We haven't talked about growth in a long time. So thank you.
Just quickly, I think that's an excellent question. We're going to do calculations just from a fiscal standpoint, which one makes more sense. If we have I think it's a 0.5% growth in the proposed budget. If there were more, we could take advantage of it, maybe even up to 3%. We don't know what those numbers look like in terms of, I'm leaning towards growth money, Vice President Hoffman, rather than SEEP, because SEEP is about maybe 20% of our overall funding, but I think growth money currently for LACCD might make more sense. I don't want to overstate that. We need to fiscally run the numbers, but I think that's a good position to be in. If we're offered one or the other, which one makes more sense for us? So excellent question there. Thank you. We'll follow up and run some calculations.
Way to put that on a parking lot or
Yep.
like just kind of a follow-up
Yeah,
action
we
item?
we are putting all of our action items as we get requests from the trustees, and then we'll do a follow-up memo with all those follow-ups from the board.
So I apologize if you mentioned this. How do our enrollment growth, and congratulations, Chancellor and the entire team, for the growth numbers. They're some of the biggest that I've ever seen. How do we compare to statewide? Because I've heard of other campuses that are having enrollment problems and potentially even laying off folks.
I don't know that we've done a statewide comparison, Trustee Buena, but I'm looking at Maury. If anybody knows, he doesn't, but all the follow-ups that we have, we're writing here. So that might be a follow-up for us.
I can speak to some of the numbers relative to the SCIF. What we've seen is that for the most part, our SCIF numbers have increased year over year. And in about half of the metrics, we have exceeded the state average. So we are growing faster in certain areas than the state. We can go back and look at the enrollment numbers statewide just to try to get a sense of what those are. But I think in some cases, what I've heard is that it's kind of moderate growth. But we can check on that to get a better idea of what that would be.
And I bring that up only because in ISS we've discussed how our marketing team is doing a really good job with the emails tracking. Our student basic needs is doing a really good job. Our communication with regard to Washington, D.C. is pretty good. Our in-language, our student housing. So I'm wondering what combination of these things are working to get us above the average.
We will do a follow-up. I have 2 so far. I can tell you non-credit's growing, dual enrollment is growing, CTE is growing. And I think in some areas we might be surpassing definitely above the state average. But even some of the top districts in the state. So let us do a comparison. If you don't mind, we'll send it Board President Hernandez as a follow-up to the entire board. And then maybe that might be an ISS. Who's my chair? Okay. Yes, Trustee Eno might be also a great presentation to bring to the ISS and maybe to the board as a committee of the whole.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else comments?
Quick question. I think one of the things that I think I brought up in the past was just, is there a way that we could possibly, and use technology to prompt a student, like maybe while they're enrolling, suggest, we feel that you're going this track, in your educational goal. I suggest you enroll in this class too. I know we can't pre-enroll students and stack them, but can we use technology to maybe suggest to them classes that they should be enrolling in as they enroll, throughout our time with us? Because some of the complaints that I've gotten from students is that, you know, they'll meet with certain counselors and they tell them, well, you know, you're gonna transfer to Cal State, so you need to take these courses. And then sometimes that they find out finally when they're trying to transfer that those courses didn't really contribute to them being able to transfer. And so I know I talked to, I don't remember who, about maybe having students, you know, the district would automatically enroll them in whatever AA they're trying to get. But obviously that's really, really hard and cumbersome and not really a good idea. But what can we do to mitigate students taking classes that they feel is a waste of time and a waste of money that didn't contribute to either their transfer or their AA that they're trying to get? You know, what do you guys think is in the future? Can we use AI for that? You know?
Thank you for the question. I think one thing that we really need to do as a district is really promote our degree audit system. We have an extensive degree audit system that we built that has the tracking ability so the students can go in, it's on their portal, and they could put in what their current major is. Well, actually populates with their current major. And then it tells them exactly what have you completed and what areas are still missing. And so we do have a very sophisticated degree tracking system, but I would have to say a lot of students may not be aware of it. And we do work this with the colleges where they validate these audits. And we are up to current catalog year, and we've started in 2013 on this project. So we have it for every year from 2013 to present.
Okay.
I think another initiative that we're working on and getting ready to deploy, matter of fact, on Monday, is our automation of our transcripts, both incoming and outgoing.
Nice.
So incoming is already complete. We rolled that out about 2 months ago. And basically every transcript that comes into our district, and we have it through the matriculation process. So when a student enrolls, they get a letter saying, hey, if you took credit anywhere in any other university, community college, please send us your official transcript so we could evaluate it. And so now we have automated that. We're taking in that transcript information. But the piece that we're kicking off on Monday is what we call Raptor. And that's a middleware between the transcripts coming in from Parchment or eTranscript California. They come into our system and we take the courses from the actual transcript and push it into our SIS system. And so we're working on that currently. And then they will be in the degree audit. So when a counselor is working with a student, they could go to the degree audit, look at the courses that came in from an outside transcript and apply them where they're eligible. We also have a lot of work coming in on the credit for prior learning for students that have credit through employment, through exams, et cetera. You know, we're working on a streamlined process for credit for prior learning. JSTs for veterans is another big area. And the Raptor system will help us also capture those JSTs and move them also to our student information system. So we're going to be able to take outside transcript information and be able to evaluate that early in a student's career instead of waiting till they graduate, which is our current practice and has been.
Okay, no, that's really good to hear. And I'm glad to hear about this program that does the audit. The other thing I've heard too is that when a student applies to Cal States, they're having to pay each, you know, let's say they apply to 5 Cal States, when Cal State asks them, you know, per transcript, like, so is there any way we can talk to Cal State about them not each university charging our student every time that they get the transcript? Because it seems kind of, isn't the Cal State a system?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't they be able to just take a one-time access to our transcripts electronically and just upload
We need
it?
to look at that because we currently do have a district transcript. We do not have individual college
No, I
transcripts
get that,
anymore.
but each Cal State is charging, like, I guess they charge.
Not for transcript. I think maybe you're thinking about the admissions application.
Okay.
That each four-year institution does charge an admissions fee
Maybe I have it.
for the application. It's
Okay.
$50 per application, but I am not familiar with a transcript fee because students pay the transcript fee to send it from our institution to the university, but they don't charge a fee for that.
Okay, perfect.
And it is sent in electronic data through the Parchment system, which is a third party that we use for transcripts.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Trustee Veras?
Thank you, and actually very much appreciate this dialogue. I mean, we're using technology to sort of close some gaps, but I think, you know, the root of the creation of these gaps is sometimes our challenge over the years in persistence and completion, right? This is our leakage, and we're trying to come back and clean that up. For as much as I sort of appreciate this piece in this scenario, because I think it's like it just seemed like low-hanging fruit for us to go out and get. What are the kinds of tools we think would be important for us to sort of stem that and look at the completion side of it in a heavy way and see if we can have some of the same kinds of success models of just key. It feels like we have them captured, persist, complete while they're here, as opposed to, and I'm not saying replace that, but as opposed to what we're trying to do is capture them back and pull them back into it. Have we given some thought as to if there's tools and value and, you know, where it's not 1 or 2 years where they're hanging out there, but that we can capture them immediately and make sure that they're ready to go and persist for the very next session?
Yeah, Deputy Chancellor, you want to?
Sure. So we recently, in the last 6 months, brought over the research team from City College to help us at the district office in programming some automation within our system so we can push data back out to the campuses. So we can granularly go down and look at each individual student through the system and say, you're 2 classes away or you're 1 class away. Push that out to the campus so they can reach out to the student. That also gives us the ability to determine what we need to be scheduling so that students can actually complete. So we're just launching that kind of programming right now. But there are a lot of conversations that we've been having with the college presidents. The chancellor's mentioned his campaign that we're going to be launching this spring. And within that, we're looking at things such as guided choices for students to help them better stay on track. So you'll be hearing more about those initiatives as we kind of formalize them and roll them out this spring.
Okay. If I can add a little to Trustee Veras. So tools, I think Trustee Vela mentioned this. We're looking at ways to automate and nudge a student that needs the 1 class. You know, looking at the catalog, looking at their ed plan, how those align and what course they may need to complete. The second thing is College Promise. You guys had a great presentation on College Promise. You saw that number significantly higher for students in College Promise programs in terms of persistence completion. We want to scale College Promise district-wide, but there are components or elements in there that I think are incredibly important for the student to be successful. And so I would love to see us take that model district-wide. There's a cost issue, but as we were talking about $1 million to continue some of the elements, I mean, in an enterprise of $1 billion, $1 million seems like a great investment or something like that. So we're looking at College Promise elements to scale up for the entire AI tools to nudge students throughout the semester of classes they need relative to their ed plan. And we're talking about even front-loading schedules. You know, in other words, when they get their ed plan, we tell the students, you have been enrolled potentially in English and math, and have the students opt out. I know, I think it's one of the colleges up north, one of the presidents will have to remind me where President Bush is, that actually has had that model in place and has been very successful, because students oftentimes when they go to our enrollment events are actually telling us, I don't know which class I need to take next.
Yeah.
That is a common question. So imagine if we're nudging them saying, here's your schedule, it's fall semester, here's your schedule for spring, you are enrolled, and then maybe leave some of the electives optional. Those are things that I think we're going to look at 2026
Right.
that have been proven to be effective models for completion, retention, and persistence.
Do we have, you know, and I appreciate that, because some of this conversation is like, I don't know what to take. And there may be also other scenarios. I remember a few years back thinking about trade tech culinary arts, for example, where students weren't completing, but they were in the job market and they were working because they got enough basic skills to put them forward. Is there potentially some conversation for, you know, credit for work or credit for interning, or is what portion of potentially students leaving is they may have gotten some work in the field they're interested in, and they just frankly need the money for themselves or their family. But what could we do to sort of make that be a benefit, since we have such a big curve moving towards paid work internships, credit for work, all those kinds of things? Is there a way that we can be potentially on the lookout for opportunities for students that just frankly have to get into the, full-time paid workspace and may have put the courses behind them, and they may be not that far away?
That's a great point. I had an opportunity to meet with the Academic Senate leadership yesterday and go through some of the initiatives that they're launching this semester. And one of them is determining which credit for prior learning system we're going to utilize to be able to capture that credit for prior learning. And each of the colleges have received some funding to really front load and figure out how to be able to capture that credit. Some of our colleges are also looking at competency-based education. I believe ELAC has a grant that's being worked through right now in the healthcare field. And so, those are students that bring those competencies, get them transcripted, and then can get through faster. But I really like the idea of, if we lost somebody that went out into work, how can we pull them back and help them actually complete? So a great comment.
Or acknowledge the fact that they maybe need to work.
Yep.
Because of the income to the family and the value of that. But how do we facilitate the completion while they're still getting at what they need, which is income for the family?
Yeah, that's a great thing for us to work on with the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also have a question about comprehensive ed plans, because now it is going to be required that every single district for every single student submits comprehensive educational plans. And what are we doing to with our counseling faculty and our departments to make sure that every single student will have a comprehensive ed plan? And do we know, like, what is the penalty for, and how long is the time frame to be able to comply with the new regulation?
Let's see if you want to, and then maybe we'll ask a couple of our college presidents to weigh in as well.
I mean, it was really controversial. I was on consultation council when it was being discussed, and it passed through the Board of Governors. And I know, counselors, their job is much more than just picking classes. We have a counselor sitting with us on our board. So how are we preparing our counselors, and how are we preparing students? Because we all know that not every student gets to see a counselor, and now we're going to be required. I'm sure some of the automated programs that we are engaging in can help with that, but I would just like to hear that we have a plan.
That's a discussion that's taking place right now with the vice presidents of student services, and we'll continue having this discussion. I mean, we do have the tools in place. We have a electronic student educational plan where the abbreviated as well as the comprehensive can be created. We document follow-up services. We provide not only in-person counseling support, but we do online counseling support as well. So we have the tools available. The degree audit also helps immensely, but it's just letting students know that they need to have that based on legislation within their I think it's after 15 units of completion, they should have a educational plan. So we do run monthly reports on the number of ed plans that are created, and we share that with the colleges as well. But it is an ongoing conversation we're having at the VP level.
President Gribbins?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I can add a little bit about what's happening at the college level. I think our counselors are doing an amazing job in this front. Last year, we started an initiative where the counselors started proactively reaching out to our students who didn't yet have a comprehensive student ed plan. And they actually do it for them without the student asking. They base the information off of what the student submits on their application, so they already know their major and educational goal. And then they send that to the student and ask the student if there's any changes that they would like to make. Otherwise, it becomes final. This year, we're actually going a step further. And for every high school student, every high school senior that we interact with, our outreach team interacts with, we're doing a comprehensive student ed plan for the high school senior before they actually come to campus for the senior days, or before we work with them at the high school to enroll them. So we're hoping to get a comprehensive student ed plan for every high school senior that we can connect with by April. So again, all this is driven by our counseling department. They're absolutely doing a terrific job.
I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to weigh in. Yes, President Dorado.
Thank you. So for Harbor, we're hitting it in a different manner. We're actually doing it where the abbreviated ed plans at the high school when they come and what we have is our summer bridge program where the students take their summer class in our counseling 1 or our college 101 and they leave the summer bridge program with their comprehensive ed plan. So we're absolutely going to them at the high schools and that's a combination between our counseling faculty, because we actually do take some of our counseling faculty to the high school to do those abbreviated ed plans. And then our outreach team works with them throughout the year to make sure that they're on track. And so we're about to start doing the Cash for College for their financial aid component as well. So we're making sure that they have those comprehensive ed plans because they're very important to get the students on the pathway.
I just wanted to quickly echo what Trustee Vela said with regard to AI. We shouldn't be afraid of it. For now, lots of warning signs, but we shouldn't be afraid of it because of the positive. That was it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, yeah, I will echo my colleagues. This is really, it's good to see these numbers and very sort of concrete measures of success that we're achieving but on the interest of time, let's move on to, is this 1.1A or 1.2? Where are we at? 1.2.
All right. Goal 11A. This slide highlights the actions taken to support the chancellor in leading the development and implementation of the district-wide enrollment plan focused on sustained growth and instructional efficiency across the 9 colleges. Central to this work, what we accomplished since August was the board approval of the district strategic plan, which helps to establish a unified framework to help guide some district-wide enrollment planning, student success efforts, and of course, establish long-term institutional priorities. In addition, related to this, the board reviewed and approved the student equity plans back last fall as well, ensuring that enrollment strategies are aligned with targeted data-informed approaches to address equity gaps and advance equitable outcomes across the district.
Great. Thank you. Any comments on that? Okay. Let's move on to board goal 1.2. Overseeing the district and college efforts to provide basic needs for students.
Okay. Regarding board goal 1.2, as you know, the federal earmark for the LA Metro Go Path program ended on September 30th, 2025. It funded the Go Path program for short for the last 3 years. But the executive administration, the college presidents, they all supported the continuation of the program through June 30, 2026. And so students are continuing to receive free ridership with the LA Metro. In fall 2025, we also completed the district-wide contract for short-term and temporary student housing. We created a bench with 6 nonprofit organizations where the colleges can now connect those students to those housing support at the campuses. LACCD also established a 3-pronged approach to student housing, providing multiple pathways to support student housing stability. And Dr. Sada will share more on that.
And before we go there, President Hernandez, just want to share, and this is something that we work with Trustee Vela on. The Go Metro Pass is one of our legislative priorities this year. And so when we went to Sacramento, that was a pitch we made and it was well received. I think it's resonating with folks. The idea of offering a transportation bus pass at $7 per semester. The ridership is over 20,000 district-wide. That is 20,000 students are using the bus pass to get to college. And it's also used for, county-wide. Again, it's our priority. We hope to be able to fund this. I think it's a very important basic need initiative that we have. And I want to thank the board and as well as the leadership of Chair Vela, LPAC, to put this as one of our top priorities for this year.
It's great. It's very exciting. Let's move on. Unless there's any, unless there's any comment on that. Dr. Sada.
Great. Good morning, everybody. So as you know, we have a 3-part housing strand, and I've got a slide to address each one of them. Housing strand number 1 is to buy a building. We did want to share that negotiations continue and are ongoing with a property developer within a short walk to one of our campuses. We are targeting March 4th for a board closed session where we intend to provide a more detailed update and seek your direction on that deal and the deal terms. The building was entitled under a prior arrangement with the city of Los Angeles, and we are having our attorneys review that information by our outside counsel actually is reviewing it, and they will provide options on how those issues may be handled, if they need to be handled at all. The fourth bullet is that the building was approved by LADBS. So in other words, our local Department of Building and Safety, and not DSA. So classes may not be held within the building. However, the district's safe harbor provision does still apply. And then finally, we project that housing could be available as soon as this fall, 2026, although there's quite a bit of work to do before then. Obviously in the deal terms itself, the due diligence required, and importantly, the operational procedures that we are currently working on. To that end, you can see the bullet points on the right. We created, under the leadership of the Deputy Chancellor, a student housing operations work group, which held its first kickoff meeting. They are tasked with drafting proposed BPs and APs to address the housing issues. And then, of course, they will help guide and develop selection criteria for students, including the guidelines for foster youth and transitional age youth pathways for those students into student housing. Before I move to the next strand, are there any questions about that?
Do we want to go through all strands?
I can
or
go
should
through all three. Your
Maybe,
choice.
do we want to do that or? Okay. One at a time? Okay, actually, let's just do one at a time. That might be easier. Trustee Blummer.
With regard to the student housing component, what is the legal framework? So that as we have student housing, and if it's a bigger question, I'll defer to, because I get it's a big question. I haven't seen a presentation, and maybe there was a presentation, I didn't pay attention, where the legal framework for how we do student housing is established so that the risk is not put on the district. Either in the operations, in personal injury, in whatever occurs, so that it could not in any way bleed into the general fund. And that's always been my concern. Do we create a LACCD student housing authority? Do we create, is it through the contract? And as much as I've been a huge supporter of student housing, I just don't want to be in a lawsuit situation where someone says, hey, someone fell, we're bringing LACCD into the lawsuit, then someone says, gosh, we didn't think about it.
Yeah, that's a great question, Trustee Buona. And I think what we'll do is we'll need to do some work on that and bring that back in a more specific and comprehensive manner.
Yeah, let's make that an action item.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
The last component is we've been bringing this up since 2021. And this is a district-wide kind of thing, right? And Chancellor, you're new to being Chancellor, right? But as we get into potentially the fall, we have to put, and thank you for making a priority, it's an extremely big deal.
And yes, we'll bring it back, Board President Hernandez, with your request. I will say all of these will have third-party operators. We're not operating either the dorm and or the acquisition of property. Those come with the liability protection and other things that I'll speak on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. We have not gone into this blindly. We have thought about the legal components of this, the cost neutral, or maybe even profit potential opportunities in housing. But I think your point is well made. Some of it is a closed session conversation that we need to have. Some of it isn't. But we'll put together something and then we'll send it to the entire board. But this is not something we're thinking about now, at least under my leadership. We thought it through and we will have third-party administrators actually running these. We're not in the business of running housing. We're in the business of housing our students.
Yeah. And Chancellor, as we thank you for that, and I really appreciate that and your leadership on this. But the board should really have a memo on hand, I really identifying for whatever entity that we've been told this, so that future boards don't have, so it doesn't become a hearsay situation. Because that's what will occur. So that's to keep that in mind, and we should probably have some input in what we want into that memo. And I understand it's a closed session item.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes.
I just I'm really excited to hear about the student housing operation work group. I think as a student services person, that's where my heartstrings are as we implement all of this. And hopefully we can get updates periodically, just to know what's happening and possibly provide feedback, to be preventative care for any incidents that we might incur. In addition to like the legal ones is a huge thing, but just so our residents do live, cohabitate successfully and do all of that
Yeah,
safely. Thank you.
Be happy to do that.
Sorry, President Hernandez, who is part of the show?
That's exactly the question actually that Trustee Hoffman asked. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm gonna miss somebody. We have a couple of vice presidents from the colleges that'll be first impacted by housing. We've also asked Betsy Regalato. Who else is on the committee? Millie's on the committee. Let's see, we have 5
Do we have
people.
anyone who's an expert in residential life on that?
One of the folks over at City College had some experience in residential life. So we were gonna, one of the vice presidents has worked at a college and we're gonna make sure that they were part of the committee. And then we had asked, of course, Dr. Aguiar to appoint somebody from Pierce, and we're still waiting. And I think you were looking to see if you had somebody on staff who has housing experience.
I think we should, because this is something we've never done before, maybe bring in somebody who's, whether that's folks at Cal State or like folks that are in the industry of residential life that can maybe provide some guidance.
Yeah, I'll also say that the Vols company who's helping us with the implementation process has also been tasked. They're actually leading some of the work done in the committee, and they have some operational experience as
I
well.
think we should have an operator.
Yeah, we can definitely get a third-party expert on operations and that included to the committee. So that's we're adding it to our follow-ups. Did you have something, Deputy Chancellor?
I'm just going to add that we also have safety and security and our risk in ODI and our risk manager as part of the conversations as we get started.
Can we reach out to like Santa Rosa Junior College? They just built housing, and there's a board member that I'm in touch with. They have some challenges and some great stories too, and maybe figure out like who was on their committee. Napa, I think, just built housing.
Yes, we've been in
Orange
contact.
Coast. So I think we should reach out to colleges who have like just recently done this.
Yeah. So we have been in touch with those colleges specifically.
Okay.
In fact, Leonard
If we
McRae was,
include them on the show, I guess, and kind of take a look at what they're.
So we are planning
Policies are-
some field trips, is what I'll call them, for our teams to go out and meet with those teams and learn more about how they were able to, lessons learned as they went through implementation.
Okay.
Our safety and security lead has already gone out to Santa Rosa and had conversations. So we're going to continue that engagement. Our peers are the best teachers in this space because they've already been there and done it. So absolutely appreciate.
Okay.
the
So let's put
recommendation.
the action item to have someone from the industry actually on the panel.
Yeah, I think my
Just to-
biggest concern, President, on this is that at the last FinPOC, before we adjourned, I had asked legal to go look at other colleges to see what they're doing to ensure that, liability is minimal on their housing projects. And, I did not get any response back. But I can tell you that there's been 5 years in the working. These projects that are currently completed at other community colleges have gone through, again, good and bad experiences. So I think for me, I would appreciate a very more streamlined approach to presenting each project to the board so that in each project that's coming to the board for approval, for example, when we approved for Dr. Sata to enter into negotiations with the LACCD College project, that in that presentation, there is that issue of liability embedded into the report with a thorough legal analysis because what I'm seeing here is that there's a constant by the trustees and community and stakeholders, a constant referral back to the district's liability. And how is this going to affect us? And is this detrimental to the college? We have already discussed this for 6 years. We're either in on we're going to do the housing and take these chances of liability, or we're not. The last time I checked, we were going to do it. The fact that we don't have, people on this board confident about encroachment into a general fund, about liability, tells me something about how these projects are not necessarily conveying the safety or the non-ability to, encroach or have liability. However it gets done, I just think it needs to be streamlined. Because if I go back one more time to how these projects are gonna affect the general fund, people are gonna sue us. They sue us at swap meets. It's so people sue you guys. This is getting carried away. Well, I agree with that, but you have to understand that we've been at this for 6 years, if not more. That question of liability should have been handled by legal. Now, is the outside counsel somebody that is aware of student housing and liability, or is it internal? Who is handling the outside counsel to look at these things?
We have different councils working on different projects, so we can give you a summary, but I can certainly, I've taken notes about, especially particularly the issue of liability. And to the chancellor's point, a third party operator will help that, but we can't predicting exactly how those things manifest themselves.
We just have to be on the same page, and maybe a presentation on legal is required, but this is it. Like, this is the last presentation. Because I can't do another.
Trustee Vela, points well made. We'll bring something to closed session on all 3 projects on the liability and the cost neutral model that we're putting forward. But points well made. We'll make sure it's clear. And we'll bring for each of the 3 projects we're engaged a summary. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I know that Trustee Vera as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think the thing I wanted to point out in terms of as we have sort of advising and people in the room to help assess projects that come forward, I would say for me, I would value the perspective of people who understand Los Angeles and the market here, because we're kind of a cross between like traditional student housing and providing affordable family housing kind of space. And so I don't see a ton of value like in other community colleges because they're so far away from us. Maybe if Compton was more robust and going, that might be a good example. But everybody else is it just feels like out of the range of kind of what we do. I would I know we have an existing relationship with Cal States. Obviously, we did our deal there. But that's an example maybe of excess space and maybe not robust. But I wonder if the conversation with like UCLA and the graduate student and the family housing, that might be something as a group that looks more like us. We have older students, sometimes we have family members to deal with. That level of expertise might be useful. But apart from that, it may be people who do, special needs housing or with affordability numbers where they're, talking about statistics and, how do you keep a building looking nice when you're having to, sort of manage it with rents at a certain cap. Like those may be the things that we encounter rather than the sort of traditional student experience where you can quad load a dorm room or a dorm suite, that may not be what we're looking for. So I just wanted to sort of add that because it's just, we're building in this market and through the sort of student needs that we have, it just may be a different kind of conversation. We may end up looking more like the unicorn as opposed to the herd, which is, going to happen in the rest of the state. So
that's great. Thank you.
Trustee Bona?
Yes. Trustee Vettis has a point. And I think what I heard was the concept of unique and unicorn. And I think what I keep hearing, Chancellor and Mr. Sata, is I'm not sure my message is getting across. For every project, I'm not looking for kind of an excuse. Hey, our liability is taken care of. What I'm looking for, and I might be wrong, is a master legal memo. One master legal memo that articulates for the unicorn that we are. I agree. We're so unique in the endeavor that we're gonna need some outside of the box thinking with regard to a legal memo. So when we ask about any building, we should be able to pivot to that part of the memo. And it's going to be unique. So, you know, and I'm not convinced that we don't need another entity to put all of these projects into. So of course there's going to be slip and falls. I'm not saying that there's not. Of course there's going to, the question is there sufficient capacity in our city to really predict and understand that we're different in order to prevent these lawsuits? So while I'm hearing, and Trustee Vela, you're correct, but until we have this overarching legal memo that answers, that articulates the scenarios, that games it out, I'm not hearing that we're taking the concept of the overarching legal theory as to how we're bringing this into is being addressed. It's not one thing. So, and I'm going to repeat it. Every time I hear something about a project, it's, hey, we're dealing with that liability. Without a legal memo, in fact, when we did Measure LA, we included $500 million. I was telling trustee, you know, we promised the trustees that we would address that it would not touch the general fund. So if any slip and fall occurs, smallest slip and fall, and LACCD general fund gets pulled into it, we're going to go into the legal memo and say, where did we get it wrong? And
So
then we need to adjust from that point.
We will
Okay.
put that
Thanks.
very clear. That's an action point. We will lay out differences in landlord tenant operations and maintenance, legality, all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I just have one quick comment, and I want to sort of address Trustee Vela's request. So the last bullet point on the right, where SHO will develop selection criteria, including guidelines for foster youth and transitional aged out youth. I really feel like this is, if we could launch a student housing program for foster youth in the County of Los Angeles, that would be incredible. I work with a lot of foster youth. They are moved around by the county, which is why they can never finish and complete their educational plans. So I have strong feelings that it's great that we're bringing in sort of the Noah's Ark of like people on campuses to be part of SHO, but we really need a county representative, because if we want to make this an actual program with programming and with being able to recruit foster youth, we should not be coming up with the criteria. We need to work with the county. I think the county would be very happy and excited about this project. I think the building that you're looking at is big enough where we can maybe expand beyond just LA City College. And I think it would be a real gem in the County of Los Angeles if we could address this issue. And I know this was like the brainchild and idea of President Hernandez, so I want to give her credit. But I think we need more than just us without the like real experience, especially with all of the things that come with foster youth. And they come with the finances and ability to be able to live, and we could collect the rent and provide great programming and great educational services for them. And I know you've done a lot of work with the county, so maybe Trustee Vela, you can help shepherd that. And if we can make a motion, I don't know how we do direction here through this meeting. Is that possible?
I got it down actually to follow up with the county and involve the county. I think it's an excellent idea. Yeah, that's what they actually do. So we'll make sure we include county.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm, just in complete agreement with you. I think we've run around for a very long time, the communications with the county. I think Chancellor, been on the phone with them 2 years now to simultaneously wrap around our foster youth, creating a safe space, a safe home for them here with us, regardless of immigration status. And I think the student housing program that we have, if it affords to put some light and some, welcome, open arms to these individuals. At Valley College, I was lucky enough to attend the Valley College Foundation scholarship awards. There was 25 fostered students about 2 years ago I attended that were receiving these scholarships, and I was able to interact with them. At least half of them, if not more, mentioned that I said, well, you know, if you don't mind me asking, where are you living? I was thinking emancipated situation, and no, once they're 18, they are on their own with housing. That some of them might have some referrals. So it's really, you know, it ran the gamut from car, some are sleeping in their cars, some are in temporary housing, some are with family members, allowing them to sleep in, you know, couches, backyards, in their garages. So anyway, I want to reiterate the importance, how important it is for us to begin the process of giving grace to foster students that have, you know, nobody
Totally.
besides themselves, and how important it is that we then become their family. So
That's great.
just want to reiterate
Yeah, no,
that.
that's really, really important. So that's a great action item.
We have it, and we put foster youth as top priority in housing, and we'll work with the county.
Perfect.
Yes.
I just want to commend Dr. Sada and your team, because I know that you guys have been, you know, the board pushed for this call for acquisitions. I think it went out in like October or something. And we are now, you know, we've gotten to a point where we've selected a building. We're in negotiations. And so now the key, I know this has been a holdup before, is it got to close the deal. Got to close the deal. It's a real estate deal. These things happen fast. The seller wants to make sure, or else they got to go somewhere else. So we got to close this. We have a very ambitious timeline of making this housing available for LA City College adjacent, well, students for LACCD. It's right next to LA City College in the fall of 2026. We got to close this today. Not today, but we got to close this soon. And we don't, you know, the reputation of the district is on the line here, because we put out this very ambitious sort of agenda around housing, and we're talking about the diversity of our portfolio. We are building new construction, we are acquiring, we're doing these master lease agreements. If we can't close the deal on these things, our credibility does diminish in this realm. So I just want to underscore that. I would like to, I know it said that they update in March. Hopefully it's more than an update. You know, we really have some headway on that. But I'm really, really excited about this, because if we can open housing on the fall of 2026, if we can work with the county and, you know, house foster students and all of our students that need housing, that would just be a huge win for the district in general. So thank you, though. This is really, really exciting. And I know that there's a lot more. You guys are doing a lot. This is just one part of the housing strand. And so yes, if you want to continue on to the
Sure,
next
absolutely,
slide.
Trustee Hernandez. Thank you, President Hernandez. So the second strand is to buy or lease beds through higher education institutional partnerships. We have been making progress at Cal State LA. We are still in negotiation. We actually have two options now for housing. We have the traditional dorm style housing in a tower, but we're also looking at family style housing to address Trustee Veris's point that our students are a little bit older and sometimes, you know, need more flexibility that way. The family style housing units that are available do have kitchens, so that could be actually a better option. And Cal State LA is open to both, so I think it'll come down to numbers and what we feel is the best fit. Under the leadership of President Perez and his team, there have been conversations around some of the operational issues, particularly around things like student conduct, student discipline, Title IX. So we're working through all those issues here in partnership with Cal State LA. We are waiting for what we call a master lease or long-term lease from the Cal State Central Office in Long Beach. We have yet to receive that. We have pinged their team, and so again, we're looking forward to receiving that so we can hopefully, you know, conclude whatever negotiations we need to have there. And then again, if we can meet all these timelines with all the same caveats of there's a lot of operational things to put into play, this would also come to fruition in fall of 2026. Again, we can get the long-term lease and the operational MOUs completed. So great progress, but still a little bit longer to go. We're getting there.
President Hernandez, really quick, isn't there like a program where Cal State LA students get accepted?
There is.
And then, yeah.
Trustee,
And
President
then they
Perez.
come to us, kind of, how does that work?
Yes. Yes, there is that agreement in terms of they're guaranteed admissions. They just take the courses that we lay out with Cal State, and they're guaranteed admission. So those students will qualify when they make their application for housing.
Because I know that it'd be cool. I don't know. I heard somewhere, I don't know if it was, I think it might have been Long Beach though, that didn't have room So they sent their students to Long Beach Community College in the meantime, but that was back in the pandemic.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, so we're good now.
there's room now. Yeah.
With the ADT.
And if I may add, just completely side note, we also going to prioritize foster youth for this project as well. So foster youth will be a tier for all of our projects. So we are planning to put foster youth in the Cal State sites as well.
Okay, and if I may continue to the third strand, which is our student housing strand 3, which is to build a project and build specifically a student housing project. As has been shared in the past, we are going to move forward with a developer-led public-private partnership. The RFQ/RFP is in the final review for the building site at LA Pierce College. You can see it there in the diagram on campus. We have several key issues and assumptions in the RFQP. Due to the location on campus, we do plan to put this under DSA's jurisdiction as the reviewing agency. We are assuming that the PLA would apply. We have the ability to add more bond contributions, which could lower the rents. And of course, that pro forma is being developed now. So we'll hopefully be able to bring something more robust to share with you soon. Again, foster youth will be prioritized and we'll develop the selection criteria to make sure that we address that issue. And in this case, the housing would come to fruition and become operational in the fall of 2030 when the building's completed. So the good news is, we're going to continue to work on the design and construction issues. And we'll have learned something along the way because we'll have been by the time this one opens, we'll have been in operations at both Cal State LA, hopefully. And of course, if we purchase this, we're successful in purchasing the building that we mentioned earlier.
Trustee Ballmer?
Yes. Thank you for that. The part that I brought up for a while is, along with the legal, the question of I get that we're trying to bring down the cost of per bed to be very low. And Chancellor, I haven't seen a plan of how we're going to deal once the developer component brings down the bed number. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's $800. The question becomes, how is that student going to pay for it? Now, we've articulated, for instance, that one of our priorities is foster students, and there's a lot of money, federal, state, local foundations for that. But have we put together a plan for dealing with that amount that for within our financial aid offices to try and get that number down to zero for as many students? So not the developer side, but the operational financial aid component to get out of that.
Yes, we have. And thank you for that important question, Trustee Vela. We have a tier. We're putting together a tier system anywhere from 0 up to 800. We're also working with Kelly King and the foundation. We think we're looking at setting up an endowment that will give us annual funds for students who cannot pay or offset some of that funding. So all of that's in the works. $800 for LA is unheard of, but we do know some students will not be able to pay at all. So we do have a plan, and maybe one of the committee of the wholes will bring this forward to show you how we can get to 0 for some students. Not all students, some students will pay some, but I think, between 800 and 0 would be the range.
I think once we get down to that, we'll really be able to share, I think, the concept of, because we're multi-district with really others who are developing student housing, not only how to develop it, but make it affordable and safe for everyone to finish the totality of it. Thank you for that answer.
President Hernandez?
Yes.
Is it possible to create a new strand where we partner with other governmental agencies? So in the past, I've had conversations with LA Unified School Board members about them, giving us land in order for us to put student housing there. There's been other talks about the county, perhaps. Also, can we create I would like to see a specific strand for government agency cooperation with student housing, whether we take their land or they give it to us, or there's a mutual partnership with the city, with the county. I just feel we're isolated. I feel that we're doing this without really any input from the community, from the city, from the county, from our local cities, Maywood, Cudahy, Montebello. I really think it needs its own thing. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think I'm adamant about it. You know, being from the community, understanding, you know, particularly the east side, we have a lot of opportunities to work with Southeast cities. We have a lot of opportunities to work with, you know, Montebello Unified, other things that have surplus land. They're going through their own workforce development of their surplus land right now. We just, Buffy Wicks introduced a bill that we supported to support workforce housing in surplus land and government agencies. Because you know, and again, unless you can convince me otherwise that it's in these strands, I just don't see our commitment to working in partnership with other government agencies.
Yeah, I think we can discuss that. I think we can, you know, look. I'm just trying to think how that would be. Let's definitely discuss. The one thing I want to just emphasize is that there's a lot of work being done right now. I am concerned about the capacity that we have just in general around housing. So I think coupled with that, so yes, and I think we should really think about how we bring on, you know, how we create capacity in this initiative. Because I know, Dr. Sada, you're spending a lot of time on this, and I'm sure you're super excited about a new strand.
But we've missed the boat.
But maybe we should, I think in that action item, maybe discuss capacity, because I think our current goals right now, I'm worried about achieving our current goals, let alone adding an additional initiative. Because we've got to hit these timelines.
I do want to say that we missed the boat. Mount St. Mary's and Palos Verdes offered us their dorms for $34 million. We missed the boat on that. UCLA bought it. LA Unified want to give us their adult center, whatever it is, across from Pierce College. We didn't take them up on it. Steve and I met with LAUSD board member Nick Melvoin. You know, as we do this, I want to keep in mind, at least have them listed on people who do want to do partnerships with us. I'm not saying we move on it, but to completely ignore, and that looks bad on us. Not just the private industry, we should be worried about how we look on student housing. We need to look how we look to our neighbors, because as chair of LECCD committee, I worry about our intergovernmental relationships, President Hernandez.
Yeah,
we have been,
agree with you.
When the city wanted to do a pilot program, which I didn't really think it was the best, but the parking lot program at City College, we also we were not very friendly to the city at that time. So my point is that if we continue to ignore specific governmental agencies because we don't have our stuff together, our stuff should have been together 5-6 years ago. So it's not an excuse to say we can't endeavor into partnerships with other local agencies because we're so behind. I don't think that's a good excuse.
I agree with you. I think we should, and I think it goes to capacity. So I think we should put that on an action item of just how do we explore the capacity, because it's going to take someone at the district to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
We missed out on state funding on project-ready projects. It was a lot of wealthier community college districts that were able to capture those funds. We've missed out on foster care money because we didn't have anything ready as well. Senator Scott Wiener put that together. So, and I don't think the days for more legislative fixes on student housing are coming up. I think that there's a peak. I don't think there's enough money in the budget anymore in California to help. And so we've left millions of dollars on the table. I don't want to reiterate the past, but to ignore our neighbors, our partners out there. I would like to see some respect and some at least annotation and have a list of these projects that could potentially we can partner with other folks because it is important.
Absolutely. So I think as an action item, we should definitely do that. Agree with you 100%. Where are we on time?
We have about 55
We'll
minutes.
do quick Trustee Bears and then Trustee Wilma.
Yeah, thank you. Trustee Valley, I appreciate the comment on trying to sort of this is the public partnerships along with the private side. I forget what the way those 4P stuff. I will say though that not every single idea that comes out of a city is a good idea. They struggle as entities, they struggle with budgets, they struggle with sort of ideas, and sometimes it's a little off the cuff. But I want to, there are enough true tested spaces, that partnership, I think, really can work, and it really should be a priority. But I don't want to get caught by like an off the cuff thing, because off the cuff is maybe where the liability comes in, where it's not exercised. I mean, I remember the parking lot conversation. It's like, where do the students go to the bathroom? Right. And that wasn't for our students. That was actually a proposal for the public to use community college space. Those are challenging. But I think, and I've heard it from foster youth, it was, when we all did the surveys, that was one thing that I like specifically highlighted. It's a great target population. It clearly is connected to the county of Los Angeles. Is probably one that works with the private sector as well, not for public or not for private profit sector. But if there's one area to explore consistently, it's there. But there are lots of lessons to learn on, I believe me, I've been through plenty of projects on the city and county level that are really struggling right now. And I don't want to accept struggles, because sometimes the bailout occurs in those spaces. But when you get a tried and true, really good, program, we have foundations that do reentry work, for example, people coming out of the justice system into a very organized counseling spaces. Foster youth has this sort of connections we've talked about. And then, I think the hard part for me, and what I haven't kind of come across in a very clear way, is there's a whole industry of affordable housing developers out there that have a very strong and organized program, and how that relates to us. I don't know if it does. Maybe we need to carve out some space with the way the students are assessed as part of affordable housing when you do applications, because I've seen the processing when a family of four puts in for a 50% of average median income scenario. Sometimes they get bumped because they get a raise, right? And those are the negative sides of things. You want to see people grow into the experience and get better and better. But we may have spaces to cooperate and work with those folks that do those. And I go back to the sense of they're operating under a limited amount of income stream. And as much as we want it to be nice and well-maintained and well-organized, and, they're encountering lots of stuff on a limited budget. And sometimes those budgets run out. But, that's where the fear is, who bails out a project, or who bails out a budget that's not sort of working in the best kind of way. But, I definitely agree. The public-private,
with all due respect, the issue is not that, Trustee Vettis. The issue is for us not to follow up. When there is an official request from the district to look at something.
I understand.
So for me, when we met with LA Unified about that property across from Piers, nobody even responded back to LA Unified to say, hey, we're not interested.
Right.
I have been very clear to the chancellor and to the board here that I will not be part of a board that just ignores requests. That's my problem.
But I
so
think
if
the
there
point I
is
was
a
raising,
process that we can do that, I would appreciate it. That's all I'm
Okay.
asking. I'm not asking the board to approve City of LA, County of LA. I'm asking, let's create a list of potential or, people who contact us, so we could at least know about them and then respond through a nice letterhead. Hey, we're not interested, or hey, we'll put you in the queue. That's my only issue.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not
trying to convince
I'm not
you.
disputing that, because sometimes we all individually get touched with a project proposal that never enters like an official stream.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I want to be conscious about the sort of pressures that cities have with their regional affordable housing numbers that the county has. And sometimes the proposals come to us that solves more of a city issue than our student issue. And so I want to separate that, because we have gotten proposals because they look across and they say, that's an empty lot. I want to take that for an affordable housing, when our prism comes from the perspective of our students and their families. Yeah. And so I want to be locked into that piece clearly, but I also I think you raise a good point, because each of us have been approached in different kinds of ways by different entities.
Just organize it.
And how
In
we
the
get
in
it
the interest of
into
time,
stream.
I'm just gonna go, yes, Trustee Walnut.
Okay. So as we're moving forward, Trustee Velas, I know I said 20 seconds. Give me 25. I think we were in the planning and pre-stage. I think we're in the stage now of construction, probably stage 1. I would like us to consider kind of in the future the concept of moving from build LACCD, which they are doing, continue to doing their job, into probably a new entity within LACCD, probably something called Housing LACCD, that can focus on it internally, because Build LACCD can birth Housing LACCD, but it's going to have to take a life onto itself. So that would be my thought process.
I like that idea, and I want to say that, you know, we might as well already rip the Band-Aid here. Look, what I want to say is that those residents, the city of LA are our residents, okay? They come to our colleges. However, I agree. That's why we need a housing expert that has to say you still have to be enrolled. And that's how we remove the otherwise, you know, people who could take up our space. So I really do appreciate the comment, Trustee Vettis, of what you're saying about maybe them, you know, interested more on their own quotas. We have our own interest, which is our students. So I appreciate that.
Great, 20 seconds.
20 seconds, and just to like support Trustee Vella's sort of comment about partnerships, do we have a formal process, or can we create one that when board members are approached? I mean, usually I just send an email to whoever I think I'm sending an email to. And to Trustee Vella's point, you know, months later you hear about, oh, I never heard back from the district. So if we could codify a process that when board members are approached, there's a way to pass that along or engage us in a meeting or whatever it is, that would be great.
Yes, the short answer is we have that process already in existence. It remains live. There's a live web link, and any proposals that come to us actually go to the Deputy Chancellor, and she shares them.
Yeah, let me add here, but I think what I'm hearing is not necessarily a proposal. If a trustee gets asked, hey, I'm interested in this, I think what I would recommend is I will send a written process as you all get inquiries. So that's one takeaway. The second is create a list of proposals that come forward and do some follow-up. The follow-up would be a call to the individual to say, hey, you know, this is a follow-up. Here's the information of how you can get in touch and engage with our district. Does that make sense, trustee?
I mean, it makes sense, and maybe it goes through you, Chancellor. Like this is the
I
first
think
I
that might
heard
be good.
that they met with Nick Melvoin about the property across the street from Pierce, and then, you know.
Yeah, I think
ears
if
are
it's a
up
trustee inquiry, they should go to me. I'd prefer that they go to me, and then I'll follow up accordingly. I
Okay.
do make calls and call people back.
And I think that the relationship building is important, and that's
Agreed.
what I hear you saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Both Trustee Veras and Trustee Bell.
Yeah, we get back to people.
I'm not interested in meeting quotas for the city, but just, you know.
Yeah.
Let's follow up. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Definitely. The follow-up is, I think, valuable.
Thank
Great
you.
discussion. Okay, where are we at?
We're still on goal 1, by the way. So I know we are at 45 minutes left, but no, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate it. So
Okay.
we are now on board 1.2. Can we go through this one quickly? I think we've touched on a lot of this, but ABC, Kudo, whatever you want to highlight here.
Yeah, so these were the efforts related to kind of monitoring some information that's useful for making policy decisions. I think we've shared some preliminary results before related to the housing survey, so you can see those insecurity rates there on the screen. Notably, what we've seen is a decrease in insecurity rates since the last time we did this survey, which was about 3 years ago. But our insecurity rates do tend to be higher than our state rates. The other thing we engaged in last fall was the student housing survey. We sent out surveys out to all our student population, all our currently active LACCD students to gauge their interest in housing needs. And you can see some of the preliminary results looking at some potential impacts that student housing might have. Things like including perhaps some enrollment intensity of those students. So, you know, having more students.
So
more
these, I'm
units.
sorry, President Hernandez, I just want to point out that these numbers are a big increase from the what year? 2014
The
survey?
the last time we did it was spring 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a slight decrease, not a huge decrease, but it is a slight decrease in rates.
Okay, thank you for that. Unless there's any other questions? Okay. All right.
So another area that we've focused on that originally had some discussions in the LEDGE committee have to do with us supporting our students that are encountering challenges specifically in the math sector under AB 705 and 1705. And so we spent some time working with the faculty to draft some potential legislation focused on continuing support for students in our STEM and our DSPS populations across our campuses. We took some time to really look at the data to, be able to build on this, and we're exploring our pathways to be able to codify some language that will continue to provide support for our students. I know we have other things to move on to, and I've had a lot of discussions about 705 and 1705. So there.
I'll just add, this is on our priority. We're working with the Senate and others. We have two potential options, working with the State Chancellor's Office to continue the current existing model that allows us to work with STEM students and DSPS students as well. If not, there is the board approved priority that we would go and seek codifying the Chancellor's memo. So we'll continue to pursue this. The Senate and both the faculty and FAC are actually supportive of this approach. And I want to thank again Chair Vela from LPAC and the entire board for approving the ledge priorities. Those happened about 2-3 months ago.
Yeah.
So we're moving forward with those as well. But again, I appreciate it. This is a collaborative effort with the Senate and the faculty, and I want to make that clear. We're all on board with this. So two options we're pursuing, and we will keep the board updated on this. I don't know if there's any questions.
Okay, let's move on to board goal 2. All right, fiscal.
Okay, good morning. Shifting gears a little bit here to board goal 2, which is our fiscal goal to provide strategic direction to the chancellor, fiscal activities to promote long-term financial stability, including close monitoring of the district's financial planning and position, preparing for the phase out of the hold harmless provision, and exploring alternative revenues and streams to support the district's financial health. So up on the screen here is just a quick snapshot of the financial projections that we present to the Budget and Finance Committee, as well as to the district's DBC. Up on the screen, you can see what we're projecting for our current year, as well as the reference to last year. Last year is now closed, 24-25. And then our current year, 25-26. Currently, we are projecting an ending fund balance as a percentage of expenditures of 14.1. That is a KPI that we look at to measure whether we have adequate balances. Of course, as a district, we do have a policy to meet that 16.7%, that 2 months of expenditures. That really is the gold standard when it comes to governmental organizations that's supported by the GFOA, as well as the State Chancellor's Office. And then on the right part of this chart, you will see our projections. Of course, when we do projections, these are all estimates. They're based off of information that we have at any given moment in time. We do different scenarios depending on what we project in terms of FTES growth. So you'll see our 3 scenarios we have there on the side for 27-26, showing that for our red is our most conservative scenario, meaning the lowest growth. And we're showing an ending of 12.1 up to 13.6% at our most aggressive, as you can say, or most growth. And our green scenario, they're on the chart as well. So again, very quickly, I know I went by really quickly, but I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Yes. Just a comment from Budget Committee from a few weeks ago. We know that the 26-27 projection doesn't include potential bargaining agreements. So if there could be a footnote or some sort of just indication that that might be an additional cost we may incur.
Yes, I should also note, and I'm sorry, I did not footnote it, and thank you for the reminder. I should have also footnote that this does not fully bake in yet the SRP. We did an estimate based off of what we know so far.
Yeah.
So I have taken that out in the 26-27, but it's not, to be honest, it's not exact, because I do have to do the cost component of it too. So those will be refined in the next few months as we look at the financial projections, the cost, and because of course we will have the savings from the SRP, but there's obviously a cost to that as well, right? So all that has to be baked in still into the out year projections.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. All big assumptions are.
Yes, lots of big assumptions.
Yeah, there's
right
a
now.
lot, I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Moving pieces.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for reminding us what happened at the budget committee meeting. I also, as a district, I know you report out to us as a district, but I do want to remind folks that we do have several colleges that are running multi-million-dollar deficits. So obviously I'm going to be asking for more information at the budget committee meetings, but just want to, remind folks that it looks great as a district, but we really need to make sure that those colleges that are falling behind are on a plan for recovery. And, we worked really hard. I've been on this board a long time when a college falls behind to make sure that they're fiscally solvent. And so if you need help or if we need to, deploy an expert from one of our other campuses, which we've done in the past, here's your opportunity. I'm just putting it out there. No need to respond, but just want to let everyone know. And Chancellor wanted to let you know as well. Thank you. And I know you're very familiar with this process.
Anyone else have any? Oh, Trustee Burrs?
It's as we look at this, obviously we're talking about ourselves as a $1 billion institution, right? And even though we've been there for quite a while with our bond program in consideration, sometimes when we're at the very, very high level of the $1 billion of resources, we don't get a good sense as to like how it all breaks down. Like, where does it all come from? I mean, the vast majority of our funding comes from the state of California.
Yes.
Where the federal government plays a role is probably mostly in our student aid and some of these grant programs that are on the table. But we also have some revenue generations we do inside. And I'm wondering if in future presentations, it might be helpful to sort of understand, sort of the other pieces that comprise the resources. I would say, we're so state dependent. Obviously we have to spend a lot of time, effort, and energy, with the legislature, with the hopes that our state dollars are positive, and luckily we're falling under Prop 98 as a category, and so that's helpful. But I think it would be very interesting for us to see the resources that we generate internally. I know we have some probably underperforming spaces for the district. I think the Vandekamp space has, some greater potential. We've stepped out of other potential proposals for various reasons, whatever the reasons on the table were, but there were revenue generating opportunities for the district. But I think on a regular basis, we're not looking at it like that, whereas we're looking at sort of assets to potentially monetize. And I'm going to say, how we came to acquire, like, let's say the Vandekamp site. I don't think we ever had in our business model to run like a Denny's or Pollo or whatever the heck we have over there. But there's some underutilized space. And at some point, I think we have to sort of see how to corral it and make it be part of a regular conversation. So it just doesn't sit there for so many years as underutilized space, or we're waiting for somebody to trigger, something for us. But and maybe this lands more for you, Chancellor, but I think it would be important to see it as we come, how we break out the resources, and to know that, we probably have a couple of underperforming assets and opportunities on the table that we can definitely take a deeper look at.
I'll respond if you're very quickly. We're bringing together, to your point, Trustee Vettis, a plan on all the current facilities that are not college specific, corporate center, Vandekamp. We have a couple of others, and we have some ideas that are kind of tied to another project that we briefed the board on in closed session in terms of vacating this particular building. So it's going to be a comprehensive, but to your point, that's one area. The other area would be grants and foundation. So I think we can sort of couple full presentation on what other sources of revenue we have outside, and then where we have opportunities to leverage more resources coming in. That might be just a full presentation. I don't know if it'll be through chair of Trustee Hoffman, maybe in your committee first, and then bring it to the board.
Yeah, sometimes we don't have full control with the state, even though it's because it's lion's share. So we're almost like a dependent nature there, but we actually can be assertive in our own resources, in our own assets of what that could be. And that will not, I don't think, ever be a super large portion compared to what the state provides us. But I think, it could actually provide some consistency and stability to know we've locked this in for a number of years, as opposed to what we deal with the state is almost like year to year.
So can I bring something up? So like the housing, we had Portos that wanted to go to Pierce College and share revenue, and we didn't even follow up with them. So that's another example. We're risk adverse. We're not thinking, we have a Denny's at Vandekamp that's paying low market. I mean, it goes on and on. So we need to take a really good look at that, Trustee Vettis. I agree with you. But we need to be fearless about it too, because we are the largest community college district in the United States. We're Los Angeles, and we're over here, no offense, with no major retail within our campuses or adjacent, no food service that we could provide our students that's diverse. There's so much we could do, Trustee Vettis. I really would appreciate this to be another action item.
Yeah.
Or it's okay if we don't.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think so. Agreed. I think we should.
It's the same with El Pollo Loco. Like they owed us all those gifts or gift cards for students because we gave them rent relief during COVID and that never happened. Just saying.
There you go.
Remember that?
Oh no, I like Pollo Loco.
I love El Pollo Loco too, but they're one of the the best performing fast casual.
know.
They do not deserve. We
I
are.
don't remember.
Uh-oh.
They should not be paying below market rent.
No, but like, for example, I think there was an AutoZone there that went out of business, and it's like, it's boarded up right now,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
missed opportunity. Yeah, we should definitely make that an action item. A lot of things that-
It was for students.
Okay, any other questions on board goal 2?
I have my follow-ups here. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to board goal 2.1. This looks kind of similar to our discussion on enrollments.
Yeah.
But we can want to go through this.
Anything thoroughly and briefly, if you rather briefly than thoroughly.
Yes, Chancellor, I'll try to do that.
Thank you.
So just briefly want to touch on, let me switch the slide, touch on a few actions that have promoted enrollment, our SCIF revenue and fiscal health. So first of these is actually a resubmission of our FTES that we did in late October. Although this was primarily a technical exercise, it exemplifies the kind of work that we're trying to do to optimize our funding through the SCIF. We were able to conduct some simulations, and through those found out that we would benefit greatly from this resubmission, which was, by the way, done on the earlier side. So we are set to, we were able to capture an additional 1,400 FTES. That is largely a one-time bump from this year to the next, from prior year, but we are going to be at that higher level going forward. Another effort that we've made over the year that was also briefly touched on earlier is our a dual purpose policy, one that involves both fraud mitigation and a look at our fiscal health. And to that end, our fee payment policy has largely been very successful. We've been able to identify students with outstanding fees. We think a number of those are fictitious students. We removed those, enabling open seats in the classroom for students that have been removed. And on the fiscal side, we've seen a drop, a significant drop in our receivables on the order of 50% is some data that I have seen from our student financials area. So that is an effort that we've made to in both of these areas. Fraud mitigation, again, is another kind of dual purpose policy. We have done that in a way that will both ensure instructional capacity and fiscal control. I think I've mentioned in the past that we've greatly expanded our efforts to look at all kinds of activities, student populations, applications, enrollment, financial aid students, students who have not yet enrolled, students who are applying for financial aid. We're screening all of those populations as carefully as we can to try to prevent outgoes of financial aid, which we did over the last few months. We were able to identify students and prevent the outflow of about $4 million of financial aid, and also to create, again, to increase our capacity by removing students through things like through better identification methods and allow true students to fill seats rather than fictitious students. So we've done that through a lot of identification methods and actually some mass drops before the beginning of the semester, which we are planning to do this spring, by the way. The other two items on there are ongoing efforts. We have regular meetings under the auspices of the budget office to examine both the cost and the revenue side of for each college. That we meet with each college separately. We look at their enrollment projections. District prepares some enrollment projections. We compare those. We try to reconcile the differences, see what the colleges are telling us in terms of information. And likewise, there's a good communications flow back and forth. The same thing happens on the budget side. There's a very detailed look at all of the budget items and fund centers to try to get an idea of where colleges are in the current mixture of revenue and cost. And again, we do bring all of this information back to the board through the Budget and Finance Committee and through the Institutional Effectiveness Committee, looking at both the fiscal side and the SCIF metrics and enrollment as well.
Great. Thank you. Trustee.
Yes.
Are you're complete? Trustee Wellman?
Yes. Deputy Chancellor or Maureen, with regard to the first three bullets, and frankly, these three bullets are extremely impressive. It seems as though we've taken down the tone with regard to bots, and these kind of three bullets seem to have been part of that, specifically the fee payment policy. Is there any additional policy that you're going to be implementing that will be helpful in taking and improving our security?
I don't think policy at this point, but it just is additional efforts that we're making to get that vexing problem under control. I think through our expanded efforts, we are beginning to sort of wrap our arms around that in a way that we haven't been able to do before. We have, different stages that we're looking at in terms of both applications. We have our vendor that is providing a validity, a validation service for applications. And then internally, we're doing a lot more work, I would say, on every front to try to capture as many and prevent as many fraudulent students from entering our system as possible. This has been an ongoing effort. I think it is I think coming to a point where I think we have more confidence than I think we've ever had before in our ability to exert some control over this issue.
Chancellor, thank you and the team for because it seems like we're almost at the end of kind of like the bot trauma that we've been going through.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the entire team for that. And it seems like these three policies plus their implementation did it. And I just want to acknowledge it's a massive deal.
Trustee Hoffman?
Yeah, thank you. So I know that the Chancellor's Office contracted with a firm. I'm assuming we're using them to screen the CCC apply applications, or are we using something else?
I'm not sure if we're using the same vendor that they are. I know they are the vendor that we use, so Cure has been in discussions with them.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's the exact one. But again, they have their own fraud mitigation efforts at the CCC apply level, at the application level. And they are making improvements at that stage as well. So we have expect to see improvements since we are downstream from those.
Yeah, I mean, my point was that, I feel like it's the chancellor's office responsibility, like, because they're passing along. I think they contracted with a vendor that districts can get a discount for the first year, and most colleges are using the vendor to screen those applications. But at some point, we should really lobby to make, the chancellor's office should be screening those applications and not pass that cost to districts, because I'm sure it's costly. And, I feel like it's a common app, and so it should be something we should lobby for, to have them absorb the cost.
That's a
That's
good
all.
point. And they're doing a better job now. It's because that's their first screening. To your point, Trustee Hoffman, it happens with them. Initially, the data was pretty bad. It's getting better. No offense to the state chancellor, they're doing an amazing work. But then we have Secure as our second tier of vetting. That's gone very well. In fact, so much so that the state chancellor's office is looking at our software as potentially using that for their own sort of vetting. I do, again, Trustee Buena, to your point, I want to commend the team. I feel very confident. Can't say 100%. Never will say 100%, but very confident in the data that's coming through in terms of being clean and actual students. We have in-person verifications. We have other means of verifying our students so that at some point it might have to be all in person because the AI software is getting so good that virtual, verification may have to be out the door. But anyway, I don't want to belabor the points. Thank you so much. And I don't know if there's any other questions.
I echo everyone else's comments. It's good to get this update. In terms of the efforts, what is the percentage breakdown on what ESC is doing and then what individual colleges are doing, like in terms of workload? I know this probably is somewhat time intensive.
On the
Just
fraud mitigation
yes.
side.
Yeah.
Well, I can't give you a specific percentage, but with the development or the implementation of a system that we just brought in called our DocV system, which allows the active identification by the student, we think we have really been able to reduce the workload at the colleges in their A&R efforts. As the chancellor just said, previously, we had to rely on some in-person verification, and we've tried to go completely in the opposite direction on that and direct all of our students through this electronic system that will allow them to self-verify. We still do that in certain cases where the student cannot verify using that DocV system. But for the most part, we try to limit the workload of the A&R offices. And by all accounts, or by most accounts, I think at this point, we've seen some successes in that area.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Moving on to board goal 3. Provide direction, leadership, and closely monitor the district's operational efficiency, especially.
So I think what you've seen today is an example of the work that the district has been engaged in partnership with our colleges. A strong theme and something that we've been focused on is really using technology to help alleviate some of the pain points that we've had over the last 18 months. When I came on board into my role, we went ahead and launched a survey to see how our partners at the campuses, as well as our internal partners working at the ESC, felt about the service that they were receiving from our various departments. In the aggregate, 58% said that they expressed satisfaction with our services. And so each of the directors or managers of the areas has the survey data, and we're going through and putting process improvement plans together so that we can continue to increase that satisfaction. This is also a goal in our district strategic plan. So you'll continue to see reports out as to our progress. Betsy mentioned earlier the transcript request technology. That's just another example that we wanted to provide. I'd also like to share, given the conversation related to AI, we're working with the Academic Senate to develop policies on the teaching and learning side and the student side of AI. And then currently I'm working with IT in how we upgrade the language in our contracts to protect information, et cetera. So there's a lot of infrastructure upgrades taking place here at the district office. More to come, and there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Any comments, feedback?
Just appreciate the efforts, streamlining. Thank you.
No, thank you. So what I wanted to do, unless you have, I just wanted to make sure that we have a clear, with our action items, a clear sort of timeline on how you would, I'd leave it to you to propose kind of how is the best way that we can follow up.
Yeah.
Do we want to set a date? Do we want to?
Yeah, I think we should. You know, here's what we'll do, President Hernandez. I have all of the follow-ups here. I'd like to put them together. I know all the team took notes on everything we have, direction from the board on. It's kind of leading to 3.1. You know, is there something else that we'd like to add? But I have quite a few follow-ups. We can send these to you in writing. In terms of the timeline, it might be a little different depending on the follow-up. Some are pretty easy, like putting the list together of outside agencies. A legal memo may take us a little more time, but why don't we commit to getting this back to you all within the next 3 weeks?
Okay, that sounds.
Does that
great.
make sense?
Can we put maybe some time together, let's say, since it sounds like different parts of this will be sent to trustees, maybe like put some time on the calendar so that we can then have a convening so we
I
can
love that.
discuss a little bit more in detail.
Yeah.
Once we have that.
Yeah, maybe we do it right
Feedback.
before another board meeting,
Yeah.
schedule an hour and then
Yeah.
do our follow-ups. I love that. Yeah.
Okay.
I-
Right, so 3
I would-
weeks feedback and
Yep.
then we'll schedule a follow-up.
No,
after that.
I appreciate it. I think having to, because I think we all spoke, but didn't necessarily sort of seek what had consensus amongst what we spoke. I think the comments were, you got a lot of head nodding and stuff like that, but I think we have to find the official process to get there so that it becomes clear that this is the consensus direction or the whatever.
Yeah, so, okay, so we'll, trustees, just look out for that feedback in the next 3 weeks, and then
Yep.
we'll put something on the calendar
That makes
to kind of
sense.
have a discussion and kind of move steps forward.
This is all we had today, but open to trustees for additional feedback, input, questions that we can answer.
I'll take the opportunity unless you want to.
I was just gonna say,
yeah.
if we could get the date for the next, the next meeting, just as soon as possible. to
Yes,
lock it up.
actually, I mean, we can do it
Want to do it now?
now.
Yeah.
It might
Yeah.
be easiest.
We can, and board president, now that we can tie it to committee meetings or board meeting, whatever. I know board
That's
meeting,
easy
all
for
our
folks.
board members are here, so.
Yeah, I prefer board meetings. We're all here.
Yeah. If we could do it like a little before, that would be great.
Yeah.
An
You
hour
want to shoot for
before.
March? We'll see. Yeah, it's about a month. April, okay.
Maybe that gives you more time. I'm just thinking with the different feed.
So if we did like 11 o'clock or something and moved
Yeah,
into,
11 to 12,
11 to-
12:30,
Mhm.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
April the 1st.
April Fool's Day?
First or
I love it.
April-
Is it April Fool's Day?
It is,
Oh,
yes.
That's perfect. Perfect.
So
day.
April 1 will be the actual
So-
1 hour block. Uh-huh.
12
what time?
or what time?
11 o'clock. before the
11:30.
meeting. Or you can
Yeah,
figure
you're
it out.
right.
Break.
Okay,
11.
yeah, that's all right. Okay.
Okay.
So should we do 11?
So April 1, 11 AM, does that work for the board?
Yeah.
It will have to.
Okay.
Chancellor, how do we identify, and maybe it's through our local lobbyists, who to work with at the county? I feel like that's sort of an urgent request
Yeah, we can work with our local lobbyists that are already connected with the county.
without foster youth, specifically
For foster
whoever
youth,
works
yes.
with that foster.
Yeah,
youth.
I have that as a
Okay,
priority
thank
here.
you.
Absolutely.
Great. I mean, maybe we can even engage like the supervisor, Lindsay
Yeah.
Horvath or
Yeah,
someone.
or back. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything else?
so it looks like that worked for us. So we'll schedule that, April 1st,
Yeah.
11th.
What is
April
the
1st, right?
process of consensus again? Is it, because I know there was a couple of things of interest between all of us. Are we gonna do it right now or are we?
I think we'd like to put the list together first, trustee Vella, send it to you all and then I'm thinking the process of consensus will have to be April 1st unless we do it before.
Okay, I'm fine with April
Yeah.
1st.
We'll just get it all together for you, have you look at it and make sure that the entire board is okay with the follow-ups that we've received.
Yeah.
Does that work?
That works.
Okay. That's all we have for you, Board President, and none of the, and board, so. And we'll give you back 15 minutes, board meeting will start at 1, and I think lunch is coming at 12.
Thanks.
Yay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
We
Thank
are
you everyone
adjourned.
for being here. All right.
Have you talked to Michelle?
I'm gonna be there, writing out,